So Clay, let's go. Good afternoon for us. Good afternoon for us here in Brazil. Good morning for you there in the US. So starting this Encontros por Acaso, it's a meeting by chance. Not so by chance because we have scheduled that, right? So but
that's right.
it's a great pleasure. So we're going to talk to my great friend Clay Nelson, and this is a direct line straight from São Paulo to Atlanta, Georgia.
Exactly.
Okay. So thanks, Clay, for joining us here and share some of your experience. So just going straight to the point. So tell us a little bit about your career and how you ended up landing in Atlanta. I know you are not originally from Atlanta, right?
I'm not. I'm from Alabama, but I've been in Atlanta 22 years, so it's home. I've lived here longer than anywhere else. So I guess mine was not a straight line, straight from university to what I wound up doing. I actually started out in broadcasting. I thought I wanted to be a journalist, and so in the early '90s, when I was in college, I worked at a car rental firm through college, but I fell in love with what you could do with software. If you think about that time, the early '90s, Windows was really coming into its own, and so I changed my major. I moved college to a different town, the university, and picked up another side job. I was working selling those big satellite receiver dishes before they had the little ones. I sold the great big ones door to door. And before I finished my computer degree, I wound up doing some client server development and kind of rode the internet wave and was doing internet-based development. So I was working full time before I finished my computer degree. And I mostly did ASP, VB, Visual Basic, but I was, I guess, what you would call a full stack developer back then, because it was the database, HTML, JavaScript, the server side, everything.
That's where we learn, right?
That's it. And then I moved. My joke has always been my code was so bad they moved me into management. Right? So. But I enjoyed working in development, because you kind of start the day with something in your head that you know you've got to get working. You write it out, you test it, and when you're done at the end of the day, you go home and you feel like you've accomplished something. As opposed to management, some days it's just perpetual; it never stops. But then I was a CTO for a Cox Enterprises funded startup, and when the .com bomb went off in April of 2001, we didn't get our next round of funding, and so I wound up at Rational Software. And I've been, for the past 20 years, helping companies improve their software development process.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about your current responsibilities at GitHub. So I know it's a very fun, I know it's fun to work there.
It's an amazing company. So I'm in my 5th year. I'm currently responsible for sales and marketing activities for the central part of U.S., Canada, and Latin America. There's a lot of geography. We've got about 30 people, sales engineers and sales account executives who help our clients understand modern approaches to development using social networking concepts to bring to the enterprise to make coding more social. And so I'm responsible for both ensuring that we're continuing to grow our new clients, but also making sure that since we're a crucial platform for many of our largest enterprise clients, that they continue to see value in doing business with us and working to keep them happy and paying us. But I've been in this space as long as I have. I really enjoy spending a lot of time learning from clients. So I'm fortunate enough that I get to see a lot of different industries and talk to a lot of different executives about what's, the changes that are happening and seeing trends across industries.
Last year I had the opportunity to spend my holidays with family in Georgia, so Christmas and New Year. So because my son and my daughter-in-law, they live in Atlanta, so Clay invited us to for a dinner at his home. He showed his master chef abilities. cooking for 11 people. It was an amazing dinner. He really cooks well. That's propaganda for you, Clay. So everybody that goes to Atlanta, maybe that was great.
When I finish selling software, I go and open up my kitchen, right?
Yeah, certainly going to be very successful. So, but how this has the quarantine impacted your daily routine at home? I mean, kids, cooking, and so on.
I wish I could say I had a really disciplined routine, that I was a really disciplined person, but the travel has made it, I've really traveled almost every week for the past 5 years, even if it's just a couple days. And so this has been an opportunity for me, actually, to create some new habits. In fact, I just got back from a run a few minutes ago before we started. But I've been able to spend more time with the kids, and since they're not in school, and spending a little bit more time here. And I've been trying to take my guitar skills from basic hacking to understanding music theory. So I've been spending time doing that. And I'm a drawing enthusiast, so I had not drawn anything for 2 years until the quarantine. I finished my first project in a couple years. And of course, I've been cooking, but cooking has been a little bit more utilitarian. I think I was so spoiled to be able to have ingredients delivered, and it's been harder to just run out and grab things. So you have to plan a lot more of it. We've been getting by, learning, trying to spend this time, since I'm not traveling, learning and growing.
Yes, how are your kids doing? I mean, they are homeschooling, so
they are. In fact, it's so funny I walk downstairs and I hear the sound of a Zoom starting, and I go, "Wait, did I miss the Zoom call?" But it's my son's getting on his class.
Yeah,
it's really. I think it's going to be one of those things that stays with us for a while. We may wind up schools being able to work a day from remote, or who knows how we come out after this.
Yeah, they can use it very early. But I mean, last week I talked to Alex Martins from CA, and he's living in Virginia, and he told us that Virginia Beach, in fact, will open by June 10th. What about Georgia? How are you doing there with the COVID now?
So Georgia, we actually some businesses began opening up last Friday. Others opened up yesterday. Some restaurants began to open up yesterday. I think we'll see a lot more open up by this coming Friday on May 1st. And it's in Georgia, the governor decided to give businesses the option. And then I know some of the businesses that I frequent have decided to wait until later in May. But he gave businesses the choice and consumers the choice to go, and we'll hopefully the warm weather and the precautions they've taken thus far will be enough.
Well, what about your daily GitHub routine? I mean, home officing, it's a part of the GitHub model, right? How is
80% of GitHub employees are remote and have been remote, or at least part of the time. So for me, it was mostly, you think about how much overhead there is in traveling, just getting to the airport, packing, flying, getting where you're going, sometimes 2 or 3 cities. It takes up so much time, and it's hard to be as productive. So it's given me a lot more time with my team to be able to focus on development goals for them. We're bringing out a lot of new technology right now, and in some ways it gives us a chance to catch our breath and learn some new space. We're going into security and metrics, and so teams are having to learn a lot, but now they've got a little bit more time. But we're, like everybody else, we've been using Zoom and Microsoft Teams, pretty much imperative to keep our business moving. But I think we've been able to have a lot of executive meetings that we typically would have done face-to-face, and we've been able to bring in experts that may not be able to attend face-to-face, and it's really been pretty productive. There's still such value in being in the same room with people, but I think we've definitely been able to adjust, and I feel like we're maybe seeing that the calendar, in fact, at GitHub, we've implemented no meeting Tuesdays, and it's you kind of begin to see how addicted we are to the calendar to like drive the flow of your day. Like I'm getting ready for this meeting, and then I finish that meeting, and now I'm getting ready to go into another meeting, and it's allowing, I think, us to orient ourselves around the activities that we need to accomplish, not just meetings. And so we have everybody, I think, has such a meeting-driven culture, and we really believe in writing things down and making decisions in somewhere that has a system of permanence. Sometimes that gets lost when you're all in a room. You heard something, you think you've got a direction, and then you go. But when you're forced to be in the video call and type these things up, of course we use GitHub for this, it changes the dynamic a little bit. We're starting to see that just in the past few weeks.
So now we can talk recurrently every Tuesdays now, because this is not just a chat, right?
I have no meetings, might well.
And how GitHub just internally respond to this pandemic? I mean, and how GitHub solutions have helped customers to work remotely?
You know, I think GitHub and our parent company Microsoft understand that knowledge work is different than other kinds of work, and I think we've always been given a great deal of freedom in how we organize and deliver without these really over-constraining processes. And so we really have always operated with this really high degree of trust. In fact, as part of one of our core principles is trust by default. And so we kind of set forth some objectives, our OKRs, objectives and key results, and then let people really work with their organization as individual contributors or managers and teams to get product shipped, keeping things humming in what we're doing. But so that's really been really core to us all along. But we've really, the company, in fact, the CEO, Nat Friedman, very early on came out and normalized the expectation that we're going to be all as individuals operating at a diminished capacity. You're going to be focusing on family. You got kids at home. We need to break our meetings into smaller chunks. The no meetings Tuesdays, making sure that we've got time to get things done. I think it's really important, starting at the top, to kind of say, look, we know that you're not going to be able to be the same employee that you were 6 weeks ago, 8 weeks ago, and don't feel like you have to be, because we're all humans first, and then workers second. And so it helps with that, having that attitude and that leadership. But then it also helps that we've had the infrastructure to be a remote company from the beginning, and we're video conferencing is awesome. It allows us to have that real-time connection. But there's a lot of things that when you're interrupted by schedules, I can't make this meeting time because my kid is sick, or I have to go to the grocery store for my mother. These are the things that we're all having to deal with. You have to work asynchronously, and so you have to record meetings. You have to document things, probably with more discipline and rigor than you did before. We use podcasts. We have this thing called GitHubber TV. So we record not just sort of the company-wide meetings, but we record our Zoom meetings and post those in GitHub issues so that you can go back when it's convenient for you as an employee to listen and contribute.
Okay, that's interesting. You think companies that really use those crowd or Innersource solutions that you offered, they are really, were more able to survive, at least to be more comfortable during this period?
I think so. I think it requires more transparency than people, I think, have maybe been accustomed to, and that's what Innersource advocates. And just real quickly, for those who may not be familiar with the term, but the concept of Innersource is roughly based on the notion that open source software, which has thrived and become dominant through large scale remote and asynchronous work, how can we take that same way? These are people that they don't have the same kind of ceremony that you often see in an enterprise. They don't report to the same manager. They don't report to a manager. It's all volunteer, right? And so how can we take the way that works and bring that inside of your organization and knock down the silos and apply that to the way that you build software or digital products? And so, I think there's a lot of things that you can learn from open source and Innersource culture. Friend and colleague Matthew McCullough has some great videos out on YouTube on Git and Git culture, and I highly recommend folks go out and look at those if you really want to understand sort of how does it really roll down to the individual changing their behavior, and when each individual changes their behavior, what is the massive impact to the organization? It's really small little changes in behavior, as you well know, that can have a massive impact to the organization when you amplify it digitally.
Now, what about quality assurance? How to guarantee that working? Remotely. How do that with your tools?
Well, I think it's partly when you have that kind of transparency and you break things down into smaller pieces of work, you can have more eyeballs on it. It's easier to get people to inspect it, and it's easier to say, I need to find somebody who's a JavaScript expert or a React expert in the organization that can look at this code and show me how to improve it, so that we infuse quality into the process much earlier, and get more people involved in ownership of the code. And that's a culture change. People, developers and engineers have a pride of ownership, and sometimes they don't want to be judged or scrutinized by other developers, and that takes some time and trust to build. Sort of this growth mindset, this idea that we all are out. It's not me criticizing or critiquing is a better word. Your code is not me judging you as a person or your performance or your intellect. It's simply that everything is moving so fast. The pace of change is moving so fast. Technology is moving so fast. We need more people involved with expertise and all collaborating together to get stuff done.
Well, last year, I had the opportunity to visit GitHub that's in San Francisco. It's really a very cool office you have there. I think 40% of your employees work there, 6% is spread in the countryside. And I was really impressed, and I like it very much. It's very good place to work, very comfortable. And
you'll have to come back. We're remodeling.
Yeah, that's right. So but we talked about a shortage, outage that happened in October, right? So we talked. I had the privilege to talk to Nat Friedman, to Clay, to Scott Sanders, and with Harrison. And I posted this morning this your post-mortem analysis.
Yeah,
it was very good. And there is a very interesting example of transparency and really blameless post-mortem. What you learn about that? How GitHub looks at this reliability.
Again, I think it's a culture. It starts with culture, because that is something that came from Satya. And Satya's there's the book Mindsets by Carol Dweck. And growth mindset is the idea. I was kind of alluding to it a minute ago. Is we move from this who's responsible for this failure emotion, and so the idea is that if we focus on fixing the problem in a blameless way, that is more important than the moral hazard of not holding someone accountable. Because again, technology is moving too fast. We still have to have more tighter controls as you get closer to production. But if you don't start with that mindset that we're not going to be looking for somebody to blame or someone to fire for this, then you get open and honest communication about what really happened. You can really investigate it. No one's going to be hiding information or trying to deflect. And when that takes up a lot of time and energy and effort when you have sort of that toxic type culture. And so it starts at the top, and you have to be consistent. And I think that's one of the things that's been impressive about working with Nat, is that he's consistent. This was I think when you were there, this was shortly after Nat started, and we'd had an outage right early on. And
very first days, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think it was the first weekend he started, and but we've had other incidents or other issues where we needed to apply that growth mindset, and it only works if you're consistent. I mean, if you're not consistent in that, then people wind up having to guess when is it going to happen that we really are going to not have this growth mindset. And so don't start with that. It's important.
It really makes you credible, and that's very important. So there is a question here, Clay. Let me do this. Do we have tools that convert audio to text to facilitate documentation? I don't know. So,
do we use? It's funny you mentioned that. I just saw an article on our internal intranet yesterday that we now have a new documentation team. So I don't know if we do. On the live stream, yeah, we do actually, because most of our the GitHub TV, when we record, within a few minutes, a transcript is available of the calls. That's usually pretty good, and then somebody goes back and edits those for really egregious. But it's pretty much live streaming when we're doing our all hands meetings or our training.
So this came from my friend Marcio Castro. So he's also dealing with this digital accessibility. That's why he's asking that. So there's another question from Tiago. Let me just turn to read it. What kind of and during this pandemic for GitHub, what kind of benefit GitHub has been offered during this crisis? I mean, for the employees.
So we've had a number of ongoing calls. We've opened up. We have amazing benefits for mental health as well as physical health, but we have really invested heavily and each manager has worked to ensure that we're being as accommodative as we can. You know, I have an office hours every Wednesday with our team, and sometimes it's just to get us on the phone and see everybody's face, because we're not able to get together frequently with our colleagues, and it's trying to keep the spirit up. But we have done. The company has been very clear about staffing, and I just can't imagine working somewhere that has done better than Microsoft and GitHub.
Interesting. And talking about Microsoft, how is this relationship, a partnership? I don't know what it is. I mean, how Microsoft interferes, or Microsoft, works cooperatively with you?
Yeah, so
after this acquisition.
You know, when Microsoft acquired GitHub, it was a very large acquisition, and Microsoft at the time was already the biggest corporate sponsor of open source software on GitHub, and many people did not even realize that. But the idea continues to be that GitHub needs to be independent. We think of ourselves as Switzerland, and so we don't want to, and Microsoft doesn't want us to be, just a home for Microsoft developers. We want to be the home for all of software developers, and that means AWS, that means Google, that means IBM. That means any development platform, and we have this habit, especially West Coast companies. We think about technology as the latest technology, so everything is cloud. Well, there's more than cloud. There's edge computing. There's Internet of Things devices. There's mainframe. There's all sorts of technology and that we work with. So it's not just about cloud. We want to be and continue to be the home for all of software developers.
So there is a friend of mine here, Ed, is just saying, well, who'd say that Microsoft would just support those strongly this open source? Just a comment.
Exactly.
Clay, how you work for IBM, so you know how it's how to work in those different cultures and companies, right? You're 14 years for IBM, right? Yeah. So, and in fact, I also like IBM. IBM has very strong aspects and maybe some opportunities, and has any company.
And so, IBM has always been a fantastic research, or has had a fantastic research capability. I think they're doing some cool things in quantum computing. Last time I was at the Think conference, they've been at the forefront of blockchain and a number of other tech, and the mainframe still runs most of the world's high-speed transactions.
That's right. So you had just we are in our final minutes.
Sure.
I mean, time just speed up here as we spoke.
Oh wow, yeah. Same.
And what you forecast for GitHub? I mean, when we leave this pandemic, how you see GitHub? How we think GitHub will be seen after this pandemic?
I think you look at the physical aspects of the way we've done development in many organizations. Index cards on the wall, whiteboards, visual cues, and that is, many times when I go into walk through the halls of a new client, that's you see that everywhere. And now we don't have that, and we still have to find a way to keep moving forward and working. And I think this is going to be a catalyst to at least augment those tools. I think they've served a purpose. But as more and more people find themselves working remotely, bringing in talent from across the world on a project, and not just feeling constrained to your geography, I think the world is going to wake up and see there's a different way of doing development. I think this will accelerate many of the investments that we had seen as people were investigating Innersource and investigating working like open source. I think now it would be a little bit more of an imperative because we don't know, when the next time this happens. It could be worse. Hopefully not, but we have to continue to move on, and sometimes it takes an event like this to make people kind of shake people out of old habits.
Okay, my friend, thank you very much for your time. I know I'm just spending time of your Tuesday. We're supposed to be free, so I'm here during your lunch time. Today's Wednesday. Oh, that's right. So this is a meeting. They
all run together. The days run together.
Thank you very much. I hope I have the opportunity to leave this pandemic and have a nice dinner with you there in Atlanta again. And also, next time you come to Brazil, we're going to have some dinner in Brazil as well. They're more typical dinner here, right? So Chris is just telling me that I have to invite you to this.
Yes, most definitely. It'll be soon. I hope to be there this fall.
Thank you very much. See you soon. I'm going to just switch back to Portuguese to finish our conversation.
Excellent.
E, pessoal, obrigado. E só para dizer para vocês, essa análise de pós-mortem da GitHub, eu coloquei hoje de manhã no LinkedIn, é muito, muito, muito interessante. GitHub realmente é um exemplo de transparência. Logo depois do outage que eles tiveram, que afetou milhões naquele momento, eles em 10 dias colocaram de maneira transparente o que tinha acontecido e com as lições aprendidas. Obrigado, gente. Olha, semana que vem eu já estou aqui marcado com Fábio Costa, o VP América Latina da Extreme, que vai falar também um pouco aí da Extreme em tempos de Covid-19. O Fábio, ele mora em Aventura, na Flórida, e vai estar conosco aqui semana que vem. Vamos ver se a gente consegue arrumar uma banda melhor para a gente poder falar. Clay, thank you very much. Hey, everybody. Pessoal, obrigado.
Thanks,
até o próximo encontro por acaso. Tchau, bye.
Bye.